So we were looking into the construction of the features, of the different features. So we looked into the construction of the lexical features. We also looked into the construction of the uh, syntactic features, and we were in the process of studying the construction of the semantic features. Now, in the semantic features, we say that we will have the headline and the content separately analyzed. So now within the headline, we looked into quite a few clickbaity features, like, for instance, the sensationalism, the readability, the uh, like the general patterns that are present in a clickbaity title or a clickbaity headline. Okay, so these were some of the things that we already looked into. Now, the next part is about, so continuing after sensationalism, the last part is newsworthiness. Basically, as the name suggests, we are trying to ascertain how newsworthy the headline is actually. So basically, like a clickbaity article will attract, as you know, it will attract some of the, like it will attract eyeball with some of the special markers. Now, these markers are called informality markers. Okay, so what are some of these informality markers? Now, these are again obtained using the LIWC dictionary. If you recall, I told you the name of this dictionary. It is the Linguistic Inquiry and Word Count Dictionary. Okay, so now, within this, you try to find out, using the dictionary, you try to find out the following things. Swear words. So the fraction of swear words in the headline. This becomes one of your features. Okay. Example like, then net speaks. Okay. These are the day-to-day uses of various abbreviations that I guess most of you are aware of. So these kind of things appear in clickbaity headlines far more than in realistic headlines. Okay. Then accents. Example, okay. Non-fluencies. Example, mm, mm, etc. Okay. And finally, fillers. like, I mean, you know, etc. So if you think like a little bit and try to imagine some of the clickbaity headlines that you have come across, you will see that many of these things you have already witnessed in such clickbaity headlines. Okay, so this is one part of the newsworthiness assessment. The other part is, so informality is one part, and the other part is the quality. So the quality again says, so this I already told you when I was talking about similarity. So here it means that the headline should be a proper summary, should be a proper summary of the news body. Okay, this we had already discussed earlier. Now, this can be captured using one way I had already told you while we were talking about similarity. The other way is to find out, okay, certain important clues in the headline. Okay, such as frequency of function words, content words, etc. Okay, so what are function words? Anybody knows? Anyone knows what are function words? Anybody working in NLP for their BTech projects? They should be aware. What are function words?
Words which are which make up the syntax of the sentence rather than the
Very good. So, like some example.
and is like the prepositions, I guess.
So these are also sometimes called the stop words. Okay. So their semantic content is 0. Okay, but they build the syntactic structure, as you said correctly, they build the syntactic structure of a sentence, whereas the content words are more about laden in semantics. Okay, fine. Now, so this is another way to capture the quality of an article. So as I said, we had some analysis or some extraction of features from the headlines. Now comes the part of the body. So in the body, again, you make estimates of quality of the content, and sentiment laden in the content, and quantity. Specificity. So under quality again, you have three things: informality, diversity, and subjectivity. Now again, you can compute the informality using the LIWC features. Okay, and a true news will have less informal content. So how do you measure diversity? You estimate the number of unique words in the news body. Okay, so this is one thing. One is the number of unique words in the news body. Second is, now you can break down, okay, number of unique function words, number of unique content words. Okay, so although I'm calling these as numbers, when you have it as a feature, it will be fractions. Okay? All these are expressed as fractions. Fine. So number of function words, number of content words, broken again into, you can break it again into fraction of verbs, nouns, pronouns, adjective, etc. Okay, so this is telling you the diversity means, so the more unique things are, the more diverse it is. Okay, so the more unique things you use in a content, the more diverse it is in terms of the linguistic content of the article. So what is a way to measure subjectivity? So this is based on like how subjective the article is. So you question how subjective the article is. So what do you think? A news article, if I tell you a news article, what do you think? Should a news article be subjective or objective? First of all, what do you mean by subjective? Huh? What do you mean by an article being subjective? We discussed about this when we started talking about fake news. I mean, in one of the earliest lectures on fake news.
Subjective means it would be depending on the journalist's feelings and like taste of.
Excellent. This is opinionated. This is what you wanted to mean, I guess.
Yes.
This is subjective means it is opinionated based on the reporter, as he rightly pointed out. Okay. And objective means it maintains a neutral point of view, also sometimes called NPOV for short. This is also a policy that Wikipedia follows. Okay, so what in your viewpoint should a news article look like? Should it be subjective or should it be objective?
It should be objective.
It should be objective. Okay.
Yes.
So we measure the subjectivity, and the more subjective the news article is, the more are the chances that it is a fake news item. Okay, that's the idea. So how do you measure it? So the authors used a very simple way of measuring it. There could be more complex ways, of course, like there are subjectivity tests that can be done. So the authors used a lexicon-based measure or a dictionary-based measure. Okay, where they counted the number of subjective or opinionated words. Subjective or opinion words in the article. Okay, that's what they did to capture the subjectivity. Now, sentiment. So, as we had already discussed, that fake news will be indicative of extreme sentiments. Okay, so they did a simple sentiment analysis and used the fraction of positive and negative words and the polarity value of each of these as features. Okay. Quality. So they compute, sorry, this is the quantity. So quality we have already talked about. So all this is quality. Informality, diversity, subjectivity are all quality. Then we have sentiment, and now we are at quantity. What is quantity? As the name suggests, it's number of characters, number of words, number of sentences. Okay, so these are some of the features that they used. So number of words, sorry, number of characters, when you try to express it as a fraction per word, number of words per sentence, number of sentences per paragraph. These were used as features. Okay. Now, specificity. Typically, a true news article would be much more specific than a fake news article. Okay, so therefore, this specificity is actually uh, indicated by a set of LIWC features which the authors extracted. And what are these features? The first features are the insight words, fraction of insight words. Example, think. Then causation words. Example, because. Fraction of discrepancy words. Example, should. Fraction of words expressing tentative language. Example, perhaps. Fraction of words expressing certainty. Example, always. Okay. Fraction of words expressing differentiation. Example, but else, etc. Okay. As well as they took clues from certain perceptual categories in the LIWC features. Okay, which connect to terms referring to vision, hearing, feeling, etc. So all these were their sentiment level features. Sorry, semantic level features. So again, to recapitulate the semantic level features, so whatever we studied so far, semantic level features, okay, these were broken into two parts. One was headlines, one was body. Under headlines, we ascertain click weighty nature, and under body, we ascertain quality, quantity, sentiment, specificity, etc. Okay, so these were all the semantic levels. So this is the largest body of features. The semantic level features are the largest body of features. And then finally, they also studied the discourse level. So the discourse level features are usually studied by the rhetorical characteristics. Anyone knows what is a rhetorical characteristic? What is rhetoric? What is rhetoric in English language? Mhm. Rhetorics are clausal structures. Okay, and the idea is that English sentences, or for that matter, sentences in any other language, okay, they are not not vanilla string of texts. Okay, rather the sentences embed a hierarchical organization of clauses. Different clauses expressing certain relationship between these clauses. So this is what is also called the rhetorical structure theory. So basically what it is telling is that a sentence is usually not just, a bag of characters or a bag of strings. It has a hierarchical organization embedded in it, and this is like the organization of the clauses inside the sentence, and the organization reflects certain types of relationships between these clauses. So an example of such a rhetorical structure is as the authors have cited in the paper, as you will see. So, for instance, so this such a big stuff that you see here is in rhetorics is called elaboration. Okay. The following sentence actually is an example of attribution. They are saying, because you are attributing it to someone. Okay. And then there is a condition on the attribution. What is the condition? 100% true. The courts can put Hillary in the it is 100% true. The courts can put Hillary. So this is a single sentence. This plus this together makes a sentence, but these are different clauses, and the clausal structures are interrelated by the different rhetorical forms. Okay, so the first sentence is an elaboration, and the second sentence, which is kind of a paraphrasing, has an attribution as well as a condition under the attribution. Now the question is, like, how do you obtain this kind of a rhetorical structure? So there are standard RST parsers, okay, which help you to obtain the above rhetorical structure. And then similarly, as you did with POS and rewrite rules, you just count the total number of rhetorical structures or the rhetorics that are present in a particular news article and express it as a fraction. Okay. So this is the discourse level feature that they use. Now we come to the So now this is all about the features that the authors built. Now we come to the experimental setup. So the authors used two different data sets. Okay. And each of these data set had two types of news articles, fake okay. So all of these had the article containing the headline, the body, okay, plus they also had user-user relationship, which means that is the user posting the article on Twitter and its followers plus followings. Okay, these are there, as well as there were news user relationship, which is who retweeted, tweeted as well as retweeted a news article. Okay, and the data set is extremely balanced. It has 50% fake news and 50% true news. So we will look into the data set. Let me open the paper. Okay, so this is the data set statistics. Okay, the authors, as I told you, they used two data sets. One is the BuzzFeed and the other one is the PolityFact. Okay, and this is the total number of users posting the news. This is the news user connection, user connection, and this is the total number of news articles. Okay, unique news articles. So 240 in PolityFact and 180 in BuzzFeed. And as I said, the dataset is balanced with 50% of each of the categories. Okay, 50% of news items from each of the categories. So as a data scientist, what is your observation? So this would connect to something that I told you in the beginning of this particular uh, specific paper. I mean, is there any comment that you can make on this data set? Okay, let me tell you what I notice. The moment I see this type of a data set, what I think is that there is a scale problem. Okay, that is the data set is pretty small. And if you remember, I told you in the beginning that the authors intentionally did not use any modern deep learning methods because these methods are data hungry. Okay, and such data hungry methods need a lot of data to be fed in so that they can work well or so that they are meaningful. Okay, so that is not possible. So therefore, the authors chose to use the standard feature-based machine learning framework in order to do the predictions. Okay, in addition to the explainability factor, this was one of the other factors that motivated the authors to take up this route of feature engineering. And as you understand that in any such study, there has to be a lot of baselines. The authors also looked into some of the earlier baselines, which used some subset of the different features that the authors introduced here. Like some of them would use some readability features, some of them would use a mix and match of the uh, quantity, sentiment, etc. type of features. Some of them would use the engagement features, like how much the user retweets a particular mm, news article. Okay, so all these things. So basically, these two are more like the style based baselines, and this is slightly toward propagation based, where they're kind of seeing like how many tweets and how many retweets of the articles have happened. Okay, so now the authors used a lot of standard off the shelf machine learning algorithms, like starting from SVM, random forest, XGBoost, etc. And they used a 80-20 training test split. Okay, they did not have a validation set, which is something like that is mm, like little less recommended in this kind of tasks. One should have a validation set, especially to identify the hyperparameters of the system. Anyway, so the authors seem to not have directly any validation set. So they went on training test split, and some of the results, some of the interesting results can be seen summarized in this particular table. Okay, so it is showing two different data sets, and it is showing the performance of the baselines, the different baselines, and it is showing the performance of the model developed by the authors. So what is a quick observation from this table? Okay, what is the naive observation? Tell me. These are standard measures like accuracy, precision, recall are the standard measures, and F1. So what is the first thing that you see? You see nothing.
Their model is performing better than all the baselines.
Okay, so their model is performing better. So this is the best model. But anything more as a shrewd data scientist? What would you want to ensure? So there are certain things that should strike hard, that should strike us hard when we see these results. Look at this baseline. If we just for the time being, if we concentrate on the F1 scores, so this baseline has an F1 score of 0.870, and this one, the author's model, has an F1 score of 0.879. So what is your take? Is it a very good improvement? Is it a very good improvement? The improvement is in the third decimal place. I mean, tell me a yes, no.
Very less.
So these improvements are marginal. And if improvements are marginal, then you have to show something. I think I told you earlier also in some other context, if improvements are marginal, then you have to show something to, like, to safeguard your results. You have to at least establish something else. Remember? What do you need to establish? That the differences in the results are statistically significant. Okay, so you have to perform something called a statistical significance test in order to show that although the improvements are mild, but they are significant. Okay, so usually people use t-test or Mann-Whitney U-test. So these are statistical tests which tells you like whether the results that you obtain here and the results that you have obtained from the most competing baseline, in this case Shu et al. So whether these two, the results that are produced are significantly different or not. If they are significantly different, then even such mild improvements are important improvements. So the authors did not show the significance test, but this is something that is very important when you do a thorough data scientist, I mean, a thorough data science experiment. Okay, so without significance test, your experiments are incomplete. And then the authors went on to do some more like fine-grained analysis. We will quickly finish this. This is the last thing. The authors went on to do some more fine-grained analysis. And what they saw here is that each of the incremental inclusion of the different features actually improves the performance. Okay, so this is like it is telling if you use only the lexical features, if you use only the syntax features, if you use only the deep syntax features. So this is pause, this is rewrite rule. If you use the semantic features, if you use the discourse level features. So for each of these, what is the performance? And the performance is reported in the different metrics as we have seen earlier. Similarly, you have the two-level mixture like lexicon and syntax, lexicon and semantic, lexicon and discourse, syntax and semantic, syntax and discourse, semantic and discourse. So all of these mix and match ablations they did to see like what are the performances. And then finally, in the third level, what they did was all features minus the lexical features, all features minus the syntax feature. So there is the syntax feature is not present here, is absent here. The lexical feature is absent here. The semantic feature is absent here, and the discourse feature is absent here. All the other features are present. Okay, so these are the different ablation setups that they look into. And there is one important observation. Can you see what is happening? In this particular segment? Okay, tell me where are the results best? The bold ones are the best results. Where are they best? Where are the results best? So the results are best when you do not include the rhetorical features or the discourse level features. So it seems like the discourse level features are not adding much, while all the other features are helpful in improving the performance of the model. The rhetorical features do not seem to be so helpful. And in fact, if you look at the total performance of the model, and if you neglect the rhetorical features, then the performance of the model where you neglected the rhetorical features is better than the overall performance of the model where you have included the rhetorical features. Okay, so this is what is the importance of doing ablation studies. You get to know that some features might be not so important. It might be because the rhetorical parser, the RST parser is not so good. The errors in the RST parser actually like went on and degraded the performance of the model. So that could well be the case. So this is why one should do ablation experiments. And then finally, they also tried to find out some of the important words and some of the important rewrite rules like that were highly predictive or highly important in the prediction. So for instance, in both the cases, you find words like presidential, debate, Republican, Donald, Trump, etc. So these are all political words which are important in deciphering whether something is a fake news or not. Here again you have rewrite rules which are specifically, like among the top 10 rewrite rules, you find many rewrite rules which are actually indicative of politics. Okay, so these are some of the ways in which you do post facto or analysis or a post mortem of your model to see like which part of the model actually was the most predictive part or was most successful in allowing you to do the predictions. Okay, so this is how an end-to-end experiment is designed in order to find a solution for a downstream problem like fake news detection. So we'll stop here.